Behold, the power of Dimension Strike. What you just saw was the entire solar system collapsing into a lower dimension. This may seem like pure fantasy. However, the underlying idea draws heavily from a theoretical concept in quantum field theory known as vacuum decay. At the heart of this decay lies a simple principle. The universe always tends toward a state of lowest possible energy. Everything in nature, whether atoms, molecules, or galaxies, seeks stability. Any system sitting at a relatively high energy level is considered metastable, meaning it's not truly at rest, and over time this system will shed energy until it reaches a stable, lower energy configuration. Now apply this principle to the fabric of spacetime itself. Our universe as we know it may only be in a false vacuum, a stable enough state for life to exist, but not the lowest possible one. If a more stable state does exist, a true vacuum, then an artificial trigger like a dimension weapon could cause a transition. Once that transition begins in a localized region, it would propagate outward at the speed of light, consuming everything in its path. The vacuum would decay to a more stable configuration, and with it, everything would collapse to this lower state. This hypothetical event would be catastrophic for us. The atoms and particles that make up our world would no longer be viable, and reality as we know it would cease to exist. But what if this vacuum decay didn't just change the rules of physics, but also reduced the number of dimensions, assuming that's possible? A dimension collapse imagines a scenario where region of space transitions from 3 dimensions down to 2. In practical terms, this would be like flattening reality itself. Anything within that region would be reduced to a 2-dimensional form, and once started, it would spread in all direction at the speed of light. In the 3rd season of the 3-body problem, in anticipation of a photoid attack, humanity starts building massive colonies in the shadows of gas giants like Saturn and Jupiter. Essentially, a photoid is an RKV aimed at the Sun, designed to trigger a supernova and wipe out all life in the solar system. Only areas shielded by massive bodies, like the regions behind gas giants, could offer some protection. Unfortunately for humanity, the expected photoid attack never came. Instead, a far more terrifying weapon appeared. The dual vector foil. It manifests as an impossibly thin, 2-dimensional sheet, so razor-thin that it becomes completely invisible when viewed from the side. This is a technological artifact from the Singers, a hyper-advanced alien civilization that discovers humanity during the Bunker era. The Singers understand that star systems with massive gas giants can survive photoid attack. So instead, they choose a weapon that doesn't rely on sheer power, but on the fundamental laws of physics themselves, a dimensional collapse. The dual vector foil acts as a trigger. Once deployed, it collapses a microscopic region of space into a lower dimension. But because the universe naturally favors states of lower energy, even a tiny pocket of lower dimensional space causes the surrounding area to start collapsing on its own. The true horror of dimensional collapse lies in its permanence and scale. Once the collapse begins, there is no stopping it. Any attempt to counter it with 3-dimensional technology is futile, as it would also be flattened upon contact. The only means of survival is for the civilization to escape the collapse front until it's millions of light years away. However, this would require a large fleet equipped with some form of warp drive technology, which is likely beyond the reach of most civilizations. From a human perspective, unleashing a dimensional collapse seems monstrously irresponsible. It guarantees not only the annihilation of one's enemies, but ultimately one's own destruction. No amount of strategic gain could seem to justify such a weapon. But the Singers see the universe differently. They understand that dimensional collapse is not merely a possibility, but certain inevitability. In their view, the universe is already riddled with other civilizations that have deployed dimensional weapons across different regions. The Singers recognize that the continued existence of three-dimensional space is temporary. Whether they use these weapons or not, the collapse will eventually come. It is no longer a matter of if, but when. Given this grim reality, the Singers make a crucial strategic decision. They choose to act preemptively. To them, initiating a collapse is not only an act of aggression, but an act of adaptation, a necessary step towards survival in a universe that constantly decays towards lower dimensions. In their view, civilizations that cling to three-dimensional existence are ultimately doomed, trapped in a crumbling reality. Only those that evolve or engineer a form of existence capable of surviving in lower dimensions have any hope of enduring. Later revelations suggest that our current three-dimensional universe may itself be the aftermath of a similar collapse. The universe may once have possessed 4 spatial dimensions, until a catastrophic event triggered a collapse into the three-dimensional structure we now inhabit. If this theory is correct, then in the three-body problem universe, we are not living in the original form of reality. We are the descendants of a previous dimensional disaster. The physics we observe, the laws of nature we abide by, even the fundamental constants that govern our world, could all be residual artifacts of that ancient collapse. In this view, dimensional fall is not an isolated event, but part of a vast cosmic cycle stretching back into unknowable history. This opens up a chilling possibility. If dimensional collapse is recursive, then all of existence may be trapped in an endless cycle of falling from higher to lower dimensions. Each civilization that triggers the collapse becomes the architect of this cosmic history, each layer folding down the one before it, like an ever-thinning stack of paper in a universe that is slowly shrinking. In the end, the concept of dimensional collapse is more than just a fascinating sci-fi idea. It forces us to imagine a universe where civilizations are not measured by the energy they produce or the territory they control, but by how many dimensions they can fold and inhabit. For civilizations like the Singers, this isn't science fiction. It's protocol.